Thank you so much.
Thank
All right.
you.
Hi, I'm Janice Gilliard from Speak On It History and Genealogy Conversations with Janice and Chericana and my
Good
co-host.
morning, Chericana Feliciano. Also, speak on it. We're here, day three?
Yeah, the final
Reset
day, yes.
2025, final day. And we are with our guests who we'd like to introduce.
Lindsay.
Lindsay Fulton. I am the Chief Research Officer at American Ancestors, and I oversee the 10 Million Names Project.
And
Hello, I am Lisa Shepperson, and I am the ninth generation of Elizabeth Freeman.
Welcome. So glad to talk to you both today. So let's get started. I would like to start with the basics. Who is Elizabeth Freeman? So that folks can know and our listeners will have some background.
Yep. So Elizabeth Freeman was a person who was enslaved by the Ashley family. She lived in Western Massachusetts, and right around the Revolution. And while she was living with the Ashley family, she overheard a conversation that Colonel Ashley was having with other people that he was friends with about the Revolution and the Constitution and the rights of man. And she was thinking, how come that doesn't apply to me? And so she met up with another lawyer that was also living in the Berkshires. His name was Theodore Sedgwick. And they together sued the state of Massachusetts for her freedom. They won. And subsequently, because of that landmark case, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts abolished slavery.
I find that to be so powerful when so many people were enslaved for a long period of time. But real quick, how does 10 Million Names play into her story?
Right.
Yes. So 10 Million Names is a genealogical project that we are doing collaboratively with other organizations. And what we do is we look in the past for enslaved ancestors, and we try to name those people, and then we bring them forward. So it's turning the normal genealogy methodology on its head. So rather than starting with yourself and going to your parents and grandparents, you start in the past and you come forward.
Right. Interesting. Also, something too. We were talking about court cases, and her court case is another example of why court records are also really important in genealogy research. There was another case out in New York. I can't remember the name of the enslaved woman. Similar story. So they were fighting for their freedom and for their life. And a lot of times in those court cases, you can get a lot of genealogical information. So something to note also for our viewers. So Lisa.
Yes.
So you're a descendant
Yes.
of Elizabeth.
Yes.
So how did you feel when you finally made that connection?
Oof.
When did you find out?
Can you talk a little bit about how you found her? Like, how did that connection go? We know a little bit, but how did you get to her, right?
Wait. So okay.
Yeah.
So how did you two meet?
So we were doing the genealogical work.
Yes.
We found Lisa's mom's funeral.
Like an obituary or
It wasn't an obituary. It was literally
death
like
announcement or death
it was like a
notice?
funeral announcement.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
And no one had commented on it, so I was like, okay. So I called the funeral director and I
Yes.
said, like, this is gonna be weird. I explained who I was. And I was like, I need to get in touch with the next of kin of Margaret. And I was like, do you have paperwork or like who paid or
Right.
And he's like, well, I said, can you give me their name? And he's like, I can't do that. I said, okay, can you give them my phone number?
Right.
And that's what happened.
He did.
And
He
she
reached
called.
out.
Okay, so we've read a little bit about it, but then Chericana.
So wait. So
Yeah.
where were you when you found out that you were her
I-
descendant?
Well,
How did that
when Lindsay actually spoke with me initially, I was at work.
happen? Okay.
And then I was at my home when they told me who I was in relation.
And have you ever done genealogy research prior?
Never
Were you into it?
Never
like that?
into it. No.
How did you feel when you found
Yeah, that's
out?
what I wanted to know.
I was feeling overwhelmed with the emotion of having someone that
Significant.
in my life, and she actually is me.
Right. Wow.
She is actually me. I was like overwhelmed with emotion, overwhelmed with gratitude, overwhelmed with a lot of things. So I'm just grateful. I really don't have a lot of emotional words to say because
Yeah.
In actuality, I am still learning. I am still digging
And
deep
processing. It's a
and
process.
processing.
Yes.
Yes.
When did this happen?
It's
So
what's
we told you in
exactly
like June, I think, because so Elizabeth Freeman Day is August
August.
21st, and we wanted Lisa to come to the Berkshires for Elizabeth Freeman Day, and I felt strongly that I shouldn't be the one to tell Lisa who Elizabeth Freeman was because I'm a genealogist. I'm not a
Right.
trained historian. I have a lot of friends who are trained historians. So Dr. Kendra Field and Dr. Carrie Greenwich were the ones that.
And I'm
Yes.
familiar.
talked
I've
to
met
her.
Dr. Kenterfield.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So and they're both on the 10 Million Name Scholars Council, so they felt very comfortable
And
talking
I felt
with Lisa.
comfortable with them.
So I was like, I think this should be a conversation for the three of you to have.
Those are my sisters.
One of the things I want to highlight
that in
is I love the joy that you feel with this and then how you honor it. You know, how you're like, okay, wait a minute, maybe this isn't my place. Maybe someone else should do it. And no, one of the descendants needs to be there. Now, I've heard Elizabeth Freeman referred to also as Mom Bet.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I've heard her story, I've heard a presentation, I've read about her. And so we're so excited and honored and humbled. And I kind of feel what you're feeling right now, the whole fact that I'm here because somebody was resilient.
Yes.
And then when you just said, well, I'm her. So that
am.
means someone who is strong, her DNA flows through you, and I feel that coming through in you. So when you said that,
Uh-huh.
I felt it.
Oh,
Yeah. I
thank
did.
you.
How did
Thank
your
you.
family react when they found out?
They were surprised as well, but they know their mom and wife and mother and grandmother
Mm-hmm.
because that I am all of those things. They know that I am the person who can stand up when I'm being pushed down,
Mm-hmm.
if that makes sense.
It does. It does.
And I've been through a lot.
Okay.
To get from New Haven, Connecticut to Richmond, Virginia, I've been through a lot. But God is, and He says He is, and He does what He says He's going to do.
Okay. Now let me ask you this: how do you feel? So knowing about her had an impact on you. Do you feel that it empowers you even more?
It
That it
does.
strengthens. You know,
It
I
gives
know
me
for me,
so
when I
much
find out about
power.
ancestors and how resilient they were and how they survived, I do feel all of a sudden I stand up, like my
little
shoulders.
straighter.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
I stand a little stronger.
Wow.
Not that you're not strong already.
Right.
Everyone has their strengths.
Mm-hmm.
But when you find out about where your ancestors have been and you are actually connected, you stand a little taller,
And move a little bit differently.
differently.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now I read that you were crying at the cemetery.
I was.
Like, did you feel okay? So I'm curious because we were just having a conversation. I'm sorry, I'm so excited because in honor. So I'm working on it. But when you were walking up, you know,
Mhm.
to her site, her burial site,
Yes.
what did that feel like?
I felt a real connection. I felt like I say this a lot, but I mean it because I have a sister who passed away in 1999 and it's just left me. So my mom is my wings. And when I talk about her, I don't mean to get emotional, but when I talk
It's okay.
about her, I do because she lifts me up. And when I walked up to that in that cemetery and I walked up, I was like, Mommy, this is really, really where we are. This is us. And like I told someone else, Elizabeth Freeman is me and I am her and I'm standing strong and I'm going to continue to do that.
Has it like sparked like more interest in doing genealogy research?
I'm not sure about sport. It helps me dig deeper into where she was and how she became all of that and learning the things of her life and how she walked from that house in the dark 5 miles alone in the dark, hurting and tired, probably after working all day. That is amazing. And when I'm tired,
Oh,
Right.
I said, you're
Right.
not tired.
Right.
Yeah.
You're not tired. How could you be tired?
Right.
so you have children, excuse me, and grandchildren.
I do.
Have you been able to sit down with them and say, "Let me share a story with you. Let me."
Well, my
Let me tell you
children,
about
and,
your-
yes, and
your
my sisters,
ancestor.
and my sister's children, yes.
Okay, and have they embraced it? And
They
do they
have.
grasp how significant this is?
They are young people,
Okay.
and as young
Okay.
people are, My older son and my oldest niece are the most enthused, if
Okay.
I could say that as a word. Yeah, they are most interested.
So,
Good. It's nice that the younger generation is picking up the
Yeah,
baton, you know?
yeah, and they will have to.
Yes.
I won't be here forever, and I told them that.
that's where I want to go with my next question. So, with the 10 Million Names Project and with your story and your connection, is there an effort or are there plans to document this from, okay, so we know about Elizabeth Freeman, but now are there plans to document the story now that you have a descendant? You found a living descendant, are there any plans for that or?
Well, so the plan for 10 million names is for us to create as many trees as we possibly can from people who were enslaved down to descendants. Not necessarily living descendants, but down to descendants.
Okay.
Enough to the point where someone can find them. So ideally we're putting like grandparents' names on a tree so that living people could look for their grandparents and then find
Right.
that connection. So we're trying to do that now with we're looking at some people who lived on the Sea Islands who they purchased land at auction. It was not land that was given to them right during Reconstruction.
Okay.
So there's about 2,000 people or so where that happened. So we're looking at all of those deeds and we're looking at all their descendants and we're going to create trees for all of them. So that'll be an easier way for people to kind of get into it and
Right.
and see not just the names of their ancestors who were enslaved, but also see the very significant things that those enslaved ancestors did.
What I would love and what I'm feeling is to follow up on this question is for your story to be shared from your perspective and include 10 Million Names Project, right? And there's a vendor here in the exhibit hall, Story, and they have booklets, say books. You can do your own book and you can do it for free. One book for free. So I would love to see in print from your perspective, how it's impacted you and how you plan to share it. And so you have something to give to your children or grandchildren or nieces and nephews when they are interested and they're like, wait a minute, we heard this story and we want to know more, because some people, they're not ready or they're like, oh, that's nice. They're not really interested in embracing all of it, but it will come. A moment will come
It will.
when they are. And so I would love to see that. So I'll even go to the story booth and get the information for you. Charcana.
What were some of the challenges in like identifying descendants?
Well, we did not have much of a problem getting down to publicly available records.
Okay.
The tricky bit for us was finding record sets that would get us to Lisa.
Okay.
So that's why that funeral
Director.
was so important, because we would not have done that if it was not for him. There was no way that we were going to make that connection. There just weren't enough obituaries and things from the present that could get us to that.
Yeah, that's the tricky thing with genealogy is finding living descendants, because a lot of newer records for privacy reasons are just not available.
Exactly.
Right. Census records, perfect example. We just got the 1950 census record. So anybody born after that,
Yeah.
it's
Yes.
just a little tougher.
So we knew Lisa's family to 1950, and then I knew Margaret, but then that was it.
Mhm.
And I could guess. I was looking at Facebook. I was looking, like I was creeping on all
Yeah.
sorts of things. So I thought it was Lisa, but I wasn't sure. And I didn't. I think it's really important that you don't call people and give them a false story if you're not sure.
Exactly.
So I wanted to be 100% sure that I had the right person before saying, we have the significant thing to tell you.
So Lindsay, for you, I know that I've spoken to researchers and they've had situations like this, right? Or experiences like this. Do you carry this with you? Like, is it really like, oh, wow, this is so special. This is really, I kind of see it on your face, but I wanted,
Yeah. I often joke with my colleagues that I'm not as cool as any of the people that lived before me. Like, I look at my family and I'm like, geez, they did extraordinary things. And then I look at Lisa's family and I'm like, well, they did really extraordinary things. And I think about that a lot, I guess. Yeah, I do think
this
about
experience it carries.
the experience. I've said before, and I'm speaking for Lisa, but it changed your life. Like, it changes your life to know about these people that lived in your past. It helps to explain things about you that you're like, oh,
And she stressed that a number of times.
That's
Yes.
why.
Yes.
That's why I act that way.
yeah.
Maybe this is why I look this way.
So I know you're still processing, but what would you like to see? What else would you like to see come out of this?
Well, I spoke about Elizabeth Freeman walk and where I live, delegating it to my sons to handle, because I will always, forever, as long as I have breath, be able to go to Massachusetts for Elizabeth Freeman walk, because that's where it began. So I have to delegate them out. That's one of the things I would
Making
love.
sure that the story continues.
Yeah, and you have to touch with different people to get permission to do walks and everything. And this is like a whole dramatization of everything. I've spoken with a couple of people already. You can't just go out and walk. So you can't do it. Yeah.
It is a process.
Yes.
Are people starting to reach out to have you come and share?
No.
Not yet.
No,
It's
not
going to
yet.
happen.
Not yet. I met
It's
one person in the dry cleaners, and she wants to have the news come out. And she was like, God, can I have your order now before it gets... And I was like, oh, bless your heart. It's fine.
But you have heard from some people in Western Mass that
I have.
want you to come and
Yeah, I do. I'm going there for a family reunion.
In Western Massachusetts.
Mhm.
Okay, nice.
I am with the Sedgwicks,
Oh wow.
That's going to be interesting.
and that's this year in June.
Now, will you all be involved to document this, or are you on your own?
I'm
or
on
what
my
do you do?
own, I think.
Okay, if you want me to come, I'll come. And the documents. We'll come. Listen,
I think
check our
I've
calendars.
been begging my sisters to come. I've been begging,
we'll come if we'll,
I've been
we'll-
begging them to come, and so I'm like, I'm all alone.
Are you
I-
nervous
I-
about it?
I very much so.
I can tell.
I am nervous about it, going there and being around them. Not that they weren't, they're the good guys, I guess you can say.
It's happening more often now.
But I'm still nervous about it. And they are so loving towards me right now. The one that I've touched base
Okay.
with, he's very loving, Tom Sedgwick.
I would just take a deep breath and then just embrace the moment.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Embrace it.
Yeah, I'll feel better closer to time. It gets more relaxing, more I can relax in what God has. Yeah.
I hope that you will, and I'm not telling you what to do, but I know that you all are working to preserve it, but from your standpoint and for how you feel and what's true to you, I hope that you will journal or write about it or skip on over. Story should pay me, actually. Skip on over the story and write, because the books are more like family books for you to preserve your legacy.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
I hope you will do that.
They also have these cards at Story that help you start conversations with folks. So if you're like at a family reunion, or you just like you want to get the conversation on genealogy started, they have these great cards that could be helpful for the trip. You know, whether you want to share maybe with the Sedgwicks or just maybe your folks, just to get, break the ice a little bit, and you never know what you might find from it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so definitely check out Story. You can check out other vendors too,
Yeah.
but Story is awesome. So, whose first time is it at Roots Tech?
Mine.
Your first time. Okay, awesome. Mine too.
Yeah.
Too. How are you liking it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Experience.
It's great. I love it. I love activity anyway. So that's just who I am. I love a lot of activity, and everybody was so loving and kind.
Wonderful. Awesome. How many times have you been at Roots Tech? But this is what?
Yikes.
Like I lost count.
I have lost count. I want to say 10-ish
Wow.
times.
Okay. What do you love about Roots Tech?
The energy.
Yeah, there is.
It is interesting. I don't. In my life, when I talk to my family or my friends or anything about genealogy, they have about 5 minutes of like attention span for what I'm saying, and then it's like,
Oh, we understand.
Yeah.
We
this
understand.
is like my people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I'm
Your
around
tribe
people.
or
Yes.
tribes.
Yes.
So-
So I appreciate that.
I have one more quick question. Are there other descendants other than Lisa's line that you're? Oh my gosh! So there's more.
There are more. Yeah.
Excuse me.
We have not yet contacted them, made contact. I've attempted a few times, but I have not called funeral directors and said, like, please give me. So, there's stages of desperation where I have to.
Well, we appreciate the work that you're doing, and I'm so excited for you. And I won't go all in, but I am going to be looking for that connection because I sort of kind of feel like it's there,
Okay.
with the locations that we discussed
Yep.
earlier.
Yep.
And congratulations to both of you and Lindsay and to 10 Million Names Project. The work that you're doing is so important.
It is.
There are other people that are doing similar work, but all of us, there's so many ancestors to research.
Yes.
And, for you to take on what you're doing, to say, look, we really, really want to document the stories and share them and connect with descendants is just priceless. So we appreciate your
She's
work.
amazing.
Oh, and I'm excited for you. This isn't this isn't it.
No.
What you just learned isn't it. There's more.
I'm
There
sure.
is more, and I'm
I'm
excited
sure.
for your future.
Thank you
Awesome.